Everybody, it's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies, and today we are talking about the White House Plumbers.
Episode 2. I don't know the title.
From HBO.
Unfortunately.
And, I don't know what the title is.
Oh wait, it was Please Destroy This, huh?
No wonder we don't remember it.
Well, it's a reference to the main topic of the episode. So, this episode in general, before Safi starts being like,
okay, so scene 1. The guy walks into the room. The guy drinks coffee.
Like, before Safi starts doing that shenanigan, let's just first start off with, I thought this episode was pretty good. It wasn't as good in my opinion as last episode because I thought last episode was funnier. I thought that it was more like equal, like both of them getting their really funny moments and, just the whole episode was funny. This episode to me was more character based in terms of E. Howard Hunt. There's a lot more in this episode to do with his family, and it seems like maybe we will get a payoff to just seeing his home life. Like, maybe that isn't just a big waste of time that you see in these true story movies and shows.
Well, I thought it was interesting too because I thought it was funny because especially when they have this meeting with in front of Mr. Mitchell, the Attorney General, who's a jerk and jackass. I remember him. How when they presented their little array of dirty tricks,
that was funny.
What was funny about it is they had this really beautiful posters for each one.
Yeah, the posters were like movie poster quality.
Well, they remind me of New Yorker covers or something. I don't know. They were really nicely. I don't know. It's like album covers or something. I don't know who made those, but I mean, and the ideas that they had
just really bizarre.
But I already knew that bizarre.
That's
things.
What they had. Like there was a lot more bizarre stuff too. Like there's the famous thing where they wanted to poison Castro by putting something in his beard. I
had read that a long time ago.
And there's a lot of other weird stuff too.
Yeah.
And it's so weird that if you knew it, you wouldn't be very happy about it because the CIA, they're a bunch of pieces of shit.
Well, they used to be out of control and a lot worse, and they did not have as many constraints on them as they. Well, I don't know about now, but they got constrained because back in those days. They had their hands all over Latin America, and they're in all Latin American countries trying to overthrow governments right and left, and they were known for that.
And then JFK wanted to shut them down permanently, and that's when he got assassinated.
Yeah, and we know that Hunt has been, and I even read this just recently. This just was a regular article, wasn't some kind of conspiracy theory or
there's no such thing as a conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact.
Well, he was involved somehow, and I don't know about Liddy and that particular thing, but Hunt was, and he's been associated with it. But anyway, that's going off topic. But
if Liddy had something to do with the JFK assassination,
I can't.
It would have gone worse than it already did. Because it went really badly. Like, there's so many pieces of evidence that just point to it being a conspiracy that it's like a disaster, that whole event that they did. But if you had Liddy involved with it too, it wouldn't be...
He was just goofy. And
he's terrible.
Like he was really unaware. That was what was really weird. And, I mean, it was almost like... And then he had this family... And they were just like everything is peaches and cream on every day of the week, and there isn't anything bad going on, and they're just, I mean, it's like, just like I don't know, it's like living life in a rose-colored bowl. I don't know. It was really weird. But I mean, that was okay. I have since read about him and his family, and he was known to be a very big family man. And they did all kinds of things in the community, and I don't know, it's just really weird.
He'd be the perfect sitcom character.
Yeah, probably, because he is that whole thing is like a sitcom kind of weird sitcom kind of thing, because all the dirty tricks, I mean, some of them were really nasty, but they didn't make them sound nasty. They were funny nasty. Don't know.
Well, there's a really funny part where one of his bosses says to go kill John Mitchell, and then he starts like running outside to go, like that's his new mission, and that's what he's got to do, like it's a video game.
Well,
and then the guy has to run out and tell him that he was joking.
I mean, I haven't read this part, but I have a feeling when you watch that John Mitchell was not very well liked, because he was a jackass jerk. And I think he was physically abusive to his wife, Martha. They talk about Martha. And
Martha
Mitchell.
Save Martha.
Save Martha.
Why did you say that name? What's that from, Safi?
I don't
Remember? Batman v Superman.
Oh, God.
Remember that?
So what was really interesting about this episode, it was, I never heard about this. Now, this is at a time where I was making transitions in my life, and my parents were paying a lot of attention.
Not like transitions like today, where people cut off their genitals, but transitions like normal people do.
Level in school to another level, and leaving home, living away from home for the first time, and anyway, a famous woman. Her name was Dita Beard, and even the name is really, it's like
weird,
like a cartoon kind of name,
sitcom
cartoon. And this is a real person, and I just read, and I had never heard of her, and it said I would love to heard what my parents said about her. They're both dead though, but
she's kind of a fake and a fraud. Like
they called her a lobbyist, and that would even freak me out more, because if you would have seen her, the way she looked, I mean, you think a lobbyist and think these people wear these expensive clothes and they're polished and they're working for who knows what. That could be anything, conservative, left, anything. They're lobbyists for a certain cause or whatever, and
apparently she's a lobbyist for the lesbo cause. Remember, Safi?
I don't know. I thought she was at first I thought she was a
that was the joke, Safi.
I know, Marco. What do you call it? They've been getting all like a drag person,
a drag queen.
The way she was dressed and her wig and everything, and I was like,
outlandish.
Is she a drag person? And that she was, what we saw her do is she was typing, and I thought, does she work for? Because they kept talking about the ITT company, which apparently violated a ton of antitrust laws and took bribes to get the sentence reduced or to not have a sentence at all or something. And anyway, whatever she did this memo. It brought Watergate into focus and was kind of like an initial thing to bring the whole thing down. I have never heard of her, but anyway, guess who's playing her? Kathleen Turner. Like her name, her voice. Kathleen Turner has a very, very distinctive voice, and she is a really good actress.
Yeah.
She's gotten tons of awards for almost everything she's done, and she just looked like such a big woman. That's why I thought she was a drag queen.
Well, I thought she could also be like Mrs. Pigglewiggle.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Mrs. Piggle was like little old lady, was smiling.
But Safi, she could be like the gritty Tim Burton reboot of Mrs. Pigglewiggle.
God,
also starring that little girl from Scream 6. She could be one of the trouble kids.
She's a little bit too old.
And her problem is she keeps changing the lines without telling the writers, like in real life, apparently.
Well, I don't know anything about that. But, anyway, I thought, oh my God, that really sounds kind of like Kathleen Turner. And then she wore these in the show. She wore these big, heavy,
and
brown rimmed glasses.
She clearly looked like Kathleen Turner,
well,
Safi.
She did when you looked at her, but she wore these big glasses, and she had this big flip wig on, and it's just like a classic, like drag queen look. I mean, like that one guy, he died.
That
I think
one
last
guy?
year from
What
he
guy?
was English.
English?
And I can't remember his name, but he was
No, that was this year, and it was the guy who made Barry McKenzie, The Adventures of Barry McKenzie, and he played Aunt Edna.
I guess.
And Barry McKenzie.
Whatever, that doesn't sound familiar.
And you were supposed to watch it for Australian commentary, and you fucked it up. So you still owe that, Safi. One of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh, God, that thing was horrible.
The Adventures of Barry McKenzie.
Marco. Dame Edna.
Yeah, that's Aunt Edna from The Adventures of Barry McKenzie, Safi.
Yeah.
Don't you dare.
That's what she reminded me of. And because she was so big looking, and Kathleen Turner is not big looking, so I don't know if she wore a fat suit or what to make herself look so hulking.
It kind of reminded me of like the characters that Chauncey used to play in his videos. You know, like, couldn't you imagine Chauncey playing that character?
I don't know. I don't know if he'd understand the significance.
If you guys know, Chauncey is the guy who made Amityville Karen.
Yeah, I wouldn't even talk about him because I wouldn't want to give him any more notoriety than he already.
Well, that's what that's what it's reminiscent of. It's weird though to focus so much on her looks. Like, you talk so much about Marco. I can't rank these women because you can't talk about people's looks. But you've spent like 5,000 minutes now obsessing over Kathleen Turner's physique and appearance.
She was a very important character. I've never heard of her.
You're very interested in her body and appearance.
Oh, sorry. I just noticed it, and then I thought, what did she do to prepare for this role? Because she can play anything.
She ate a lot of ice cream.
No, I don't know if that was her like that. I think they made her up to be like that, Marco. It's just really bizarre.
Well, what if she wanted to put a lot of effort into the part?
She probably would.
To impress Woody Harrelson. Wouldn't you want to impress?
She doesn't care about impressing Woody Harrelson.
Why? He's Woody Harrelson.
And she's Kathleen Turner.
But he's from Natural Born Killers and stuff.
She's won more awards than he has. Sorry.
But it's Woody Harrelson.
I don't care.
Safi.
Marco,
she was in Baby Geniuses. Come on.
Oh yeah, she was. Anyway, he's one of the producers of this show. So, anyway, so basically they focused a lot on the family. Apparently Hunt's kids are like, which is really weird because it's like Gordon Liddy's kids, they're like apple pie and all America. And they're just smiling and everything is happy.
They're
ribbons and roses. And Hunt's kids and wife, they're really, they're like completely the opposite of him. But they don't bring it up or show it. But the kids are, like they seem to all love each other very much. But the kids are really liberal and they're into, well, the boy, I don't know what's going on with the boy. But, the boy has really long hair. And even the other conservative people that hang around them, they've brought it up about his hair, I believe. He looks like a hippie. That's what they said. But he's real happy and nice and friendly. And she's dropping out of college, and she's talking about, it's just things that people talked about back then, about the anti-establishment. And, and she has really long hair, but she's really, like,
now you're focusing on her appearance, too.
Flighty.
What's it with you focusing on these girls' looks?
But it's funny because they're so conservative, and they're, like, running around overturning Latin American governments and playing dirty tricks for political purposes, and their kids, they're like, completely the opposite. It's just, like, it's just really weird. So you think the kids were like, they talk about indoctrination of children. Well, they're not indoctrinated to anything but freedom and just running around and being themselves, which I just thought it was interesting. It's not what I expect.
Liddy's kids, you can tell that they're going to go places. Howard Hunt's kids. I think they did. Howard Hunt's kids, you can tell that, they're kind of a product of their terrible father. And so that's kind of the focus of this episode when you get down to it, is the fact that E. Howard Hunt is a terrible father, and it shows that, like, he's awful. There's one point where the son wants him to see his band play. He won't do that. The girl, she wants him to do something. He won't do that. And then they play Scrabble, and he ruins that too, because he says that Xerox isn't a real word. And and then and it's like he's just the worst. But then at the same time, there's this really probably the best scene in the episode where he talks to Kathleen Turner, and he tells her, you telling them all this stuff isn't going to benefit you. It's going to benefit them. And so, but family comes first, and you should really think about your family and not going to jail. And it's just so funny, like, after him being such a terrible family person, that he gives this, like, really impassioned speech about family.
Because she had, in the show, she has this daughter who's really, she acts like she's having a heart problem. And her daughter has, like, come there and to be with her. She doesn't live at home. She's older. She lives out of the home. And she's with her and supporting her all the way and asking her if she needs help, if she can do anything. And so Kathleen Turner, Dita, doesn't want to disappoint her and, doesn't want to go to jail. But then, there's this back and forth, and that's what Marco's talking about. Woody Harrelson was trying to convince her. Actually, it's for to not so Mr. Mitchell, the jackass, won't get in trouble, basically.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it.
Because she wrote this memo. She shared it with some journalist who I remember. I can't remember. You remember what his name was from TV, and he was on TV.
Is it the two good ones?
Oh no, it's not one of. It's not Hall. Not the two. The Washington. It wasn't the Washington Post people. It was somebody else, and she had told him she wrote this memo. And
because they found it, or somebody found it. She had originally. She said, "Please destroy this, huh?" And they didn't destroy it. They just and that's a big problem as well with these types of people is. Not properly destroying their confidential stuff.
Why? Because they don't think that anything's going to happen to them. They think they're going to get away with it, which sounds familiar all the day, every day.
Sort of sounds familiar with a lot of these conspiracy facts, is that they think they'll get away with something and then people can just find out for themselves the truth.
Yeah, and back then, it was so much harder. We didn't have all of this information everywhere, in every sense of the word, at our fingertips, basically 24 hours a day. You had to really, look. But, they were so brazen, and it wasn't that they were... at least the way I'm presented now, Mitchell's another character, but these people... they just seemed like they were little gremlins, like they like to upset people and do things because it was fun for them. They were having fun, like they're toilet papering people's houses or something.
Okay, Safi, what's this from? We were having too much fun?
I don't know.
Better Call Saul.
Okay. Poor Marco. I just can't get over that show.
No.
Anyway, it's pretty good. I don't know how people will react to it because,
well, who cares? Like, it's a good show, and like they're gonna air it whether people like it or not. So,
yeah,
you know, it's like at least we get to watch it. And
I really wonder. I would really like to see them interviewed, and I'm sure they already have been on some talks. I don't watch talk shows. I don't watch late night TV. Mm-mm. And if I do watch anything, it's like one segment that comes on. But now with this writer's strike, they're not doing. But I would have loved to have seen why. And Woody Harrelson's one of the producers, so I guess it would be him you would talk to. But why they decided to focus on this particular aspect. I mean, they talk about these plumbers.
You'll see, Safi.
I know, but it's
You'll
just
see.
Interesting. And it's not that many
just
episodes.
Just wait.
Marco says it's 5, right?
It's 5.
And that's not very many, but I mean, there's so many. The thing, if you'll read about it, and I'm not talking about the whole thing, if you just read about some of it, it is very multi-layered and spread out.
Let's talk about the episode, too. So, they also have this plan, very typical, like, by the numbers plan, where they do that they do this kind of thing all the time. You wouldn't even call it a dirty trick because it's like they do it all the time. I mean, there's rumors about Ronald Reagan and everything, and in terms of this, like you saw that in Bad Times at the El Royale, where they said they have Ronald Reagan's sex tape, the blackmail tape. They wanted to hire these hookers to get on this yacht with all these Democratic National Committee people.
And set them up.
And blackmail them.
Yeah.
Which they do that all the time. I mean, that's not even a dirty trick because they just do it all the time.
Yeah, I know. Some of that stuff, that's what it says, it's kind of juvenile.
Well, it's not juvenile anymore because they just do it all the time. Like, especially with children-related stuff. Like with, you know who.
I don't know. Okay, so anyway, we're still talking about...
So they wanted to do this blackmail thing, and I thought that part was really hilarious because then it changed to, like, them... I think they bought all these hotel rooms. What was that for again?
A lot. I think it was $500,000 worth. I don't know. It was a lot of hotel rooms.
Well, no, was it for the hookers or was it... Because, it was supposed to take place on the yacht, so... what was
I don't know. It was a lot of hotel rooms.
That was a part of their trick, and it was so hilarious because by the end of the episode, they were not able to get that plan in motion because all that leaked out. And so they had all these hotel rooms that they had to pay for, and they couldn't do anything with them. And it's like, another failure. Huge failure.
Well, anyway, at the end, they got one... they showed multiple plans, and each one had this beautiful cover to go with it. And, they had a stand, and they would put the cover on. It was like in Bewitched when the ad agency, when they're doing... an ad for a certain company, they're trying to sell them to what their work, and each plan was a mineral, like one was like a diamond, and the one would be an
topaz,
opal, so each one was
ruby.
Labeled with a mineral, like a what would you call it, a special mineral, one that brings in a lot of money. And they had it was like 10. I couldn't believe more than 10. And each one had this beautiful picture, and it had this emerald. It had a mineral name. And so anyway, the only one that got approved, because they said this, I believe,
was gemstone.
And guess what that was?
Watergate.
The Democratic National Headquarters. And on the night, I'm sure they're going to show it, the night of that Nixon won. There were, how everybody says, okay, ABC has NBC, CBS has just confirmed that Nixon has won the whatever year it was presidential whatever, and so, and I'm like, I remember that night too, and then that night they got arrested. The plumbers got arrested, but it was very quiet. Nobody, and it was like a little blip. And they showed this in All the President's Men. I'm not giving anything away. At the very end, I remember it too. They show Nixon. He's all happy because he won, and then they have this little thing. And on other news fronts, a little group of men were caught trying to break into the Democratic National Headquarters, and that's the beginning of the end for Nixon. So
Nixon?
Yes,
Safi,
for Nixon.
We're talking about the episode. We're
I know
not
that,
talking about your fan fiction.
That's my fan. That is the beginning of the. That was the plan, was to break into the Democratic National Headquarters.
Safi.
So they could get some information on how to undermine their campaign, so they would have more advantage. Does that sound familiar?
I think it's too bad that they didn't try all the other plans too, because it would have been hilarious watching them.
Oh, I know.
Try to do all the other plans.
They would try each one. They would show you. You would see them, and then it would fumble out, and it'd be funny. And
yeah,
I agree.
Because that's what they're like. They're just totally incompetent.
But Mitchell agreed to only that one about breaking into the Democratic National Headquarters.
Well, how would you rank the plans that they have? Because I thought...
Oh, Marco, God, there's so many of them. I didn't realize...
I thought that's got to be like the worst plan, because, that's a huge place, and it's a lot of risk to do that plan. It would have been much better to do one of the simpler plans, the easier ones.
Somebody did some of the other plans. I remember them.
Really?
The Muskie thing they were talking about. They were going to do something with Senator Muskie, Edmund Muskie.
Safi, you're obsessed with a guy with Musk.
I just remember.
You're
Marco,
obsessed.
Remember some of this stuff.
I mean, like
in terms
of these plans being approved. How is it that was the plan that he approved?
I don't know. I thought it was risky too.
What a terrible idea.
I mean, look what happened with the psychiatrist and trying to get dirt on the person who, an analyst. He was a military analyst, and trying to get dirt on him because he was the one who leaked the Pentagon Papers.
If anything...
and they wanted a payback, and it was a failure on multiple counts, and it was ridiculous and stupid. They showed it, some of it, and it was just stupid. And so here they wanted to do another break-in with the same people. So, stupid.
I can't remember what I was going to say because you just completely...
Well, it's just there were multiple ideas. And, you hear about that man, Roger Stone. I haven't heard about him in a long time now, but he was really young, and he was involved in some of this dirty trick stuff because he liked Nixon.
So were you, Safi.
And he had him...
Safi, you did dirty tricks
Marco!
Safi, you did dirty tricks for your roommate in college.
No, Marco. You should get off of it. Doesn't have anything to do with it.
Your creepy roommate.
Yeah.
That you really miss.
No.
Because she had her...
No.
Because she watched...
Shouldn't bring that up in public anyway.
Because she watched you sleep.
Oh, God. Well...
So anyways, I don't know why they chose to do that plan as a... if anything... they're focusing so much on these two guys being, complete idiots, but if anything, I would say that after watching this, that Mitchell guy should be the one who takes the blame for everything, because
he ends up going to prison.
He's the one who
approved. All of them do.
He approved the plan. I mean, if he didn't approve that plan, then they wouldn't have done it. So, it's like
he got what he deserved.
But I mean, they're focusing so much on these two guys. But to me, it's like the fucking idiot Mitchell approved it when he had 9 other plans that were much better. Even though they're all terrible too.
Well, they weren't as risky.
Yeah.
I mean, especially they already had a rendition of it when they tried to get into the psychiatrist's office and get the file.
And this is like a Mission Impossible mission.
File.
This Democratic National Committee thing is like something out of Mission Impossible.
Yeah, and the Watergate,
which is
still there today. It's a huge hotel. It's gigantic.
Really?
Yeah, it's near. And it's like Robert has stayed there. And
who's that?
Yeah, I wonder who that is. Somebody who's related to Marco. Oh, anyway, and they showed them looking across the street at the Watergate. And it's a humongous hotel with multiple stories. And very famous people. All these people stayed there, and it's just fucking ridiculous. Anyway. But Mitchell got what he deserved. You'll see. Maybe they will bring that up in the end about who all went to prison, which is just about all of them, and for how many years apiece. And
Safi, so this episode, so this episode, Safi, let's talk about the episode.
Well, what else can we say?
This
episode,
you
didn't know what to say about it.
Yeah, I did. I just you were trying to say other things that were irrelevant. So this episode, it focuses a lot on this memo thing, and that's like the majority of the episode, along with E. Howard Hunt's family.
Yeah.
And so I give the episode an A-. Last episode I gave an A. So I still thought it was a really good episode. It's just that, it wasn't as funny to me as the last one. And I think that Safi, she's kind of like a little biased because she likes to watch Kathleen Turner.
What the hell are you talking about?
Well, I don't know.
I don't give a crap about Kathleen Turner. I was just surprised she was in it and what she played.
Well, there was a really funny part.
I thought it was a man.
There was a really funny part where, she's... And it's funny, too, because it's like... It just shows how awful these political parties are. Both of them. And, her whole party was turned against her for talking about the memo.
Yeah.
And they were saying that she was a lesbo and she was gay and that she's having some sort of a lesbo conspiracy. And then there's this funny joke where she's like, do I look like a lesbian to you? I have had 10 children. I'm a very physical woman. And I'm very healthy. And I thought that was all hilarious. But it kind of exposed, these crappy political parties, both of them, what they're like, in public and in private. And so I thought that was a good point, at least for her character, because I hope that she just wasn't going to be like a comedic side character. That she'd have a little bit of real character. So I give the episode an A-. Safi?
Oh, I gave it an A, and it's really basically it's all the same. And I laughed my head off because Liddy and Hunt just together and are just hilarious. And then when they showed those. Like they were doing a presentation for an ad campaign, those like 11, mineral after mineral after mineral, a plan, some kind of dirty trick plan, which I've already heard, they did do some of them. They may not have done them. I think they had some other dirty trick people, Roger Stone for one, but he's a very minor player back then, very minor, because he's so young, he's a kid. And then, I can't remember, there's this other guy too who was a big dirty tricks person, and they were all
But Safi, you know,
saddled up for business.
You know, the big red flag with you as a reviewer is the fact that last time you said you find out Liddy's name, the actor who's playing him.
I don't know who it is. I still don't know who it is.
You didn't look it up.
He reminds me of Dan Aykroyd.
You looked up Kathleen Turner's body instead.
No, I didn't. I recognized her voice before the end. And it's just when she sat there, they had her hunching over the desk, and she was typing out this memo, but she was doing all this typing, and this is the back when they didn't have the computer keyboard, I remember. Oh, bleh. And, and they showed her typing. They showed the typing on the piece of paper. And it was really weird, and it was like a whole company where everybody sat at these little desks and they're all typing, and
Safi,
and I'm like, who is this person?
Do you have any posters of Kathleen Turner?
No, Marco, I don't have any posters of anybody. I don't believe in that crap.
Yeah, you do.
I don't, but you do. Let's talk about your posters.
No,
I'm looking at. You want me to say anything?
You don't do that.
I'm not going to do it. But just give me a break.
Safi,
okay?
Do you have posters of Kathleen Turner?
No, I don't.
Do you have Kathleen Turner notebooks?
No, Marco, I don't.
Do you have a Kathleen Turner shirt?
This has nothing to do with what you're just making up stuff.
What do you mean?
You're as bad as a Hunt and Liddy.
Oh, well, that's a compliment because they're both very famous.
Yeah, for the wrong reasons. Yeah, they're all very famous. All those names. That's why I'm gonna look on newspapers.com, which I have a subscription to.
You never looked up the actor who played Liddy, though.
But he reminds me. It's too bad they couldn't have had Dan Aykroyd do that part.
No,
because I think
Safi,
they could have, but I think
he's older and fatter.
I was gonna say he's too older. Yeah, it's too bad because he reminds me of him.
Well, I prefer this guy because to me, he's the best actor in the show.
He does. He's perfect. He really does a great job. It's just when you saw these guys back then, they weren't the goofy acting. You didn't see that on the public facade. You saw them as kind of mean and strict and no.
Well, that's because they were killers.
Humorless.
That's because they were killers. So you know. They'd kill you. Like they killed the president.
You didn't see him in a funny. There was no funny about them.
Yeah, there's nothing funny about killing the president and then framing it on a little twerp named Lee Harvey Oswald.
And then they have these other ones. I don't know if they showed them in the last episode. They didn't show them in this episode, but Haldeman and Ehrlichman. They were, I don't know what their positions were. They're right
up. Guy who licks ears?
They're right next to...
what are you talking about?
Nixon.
Licking?
Look them up yourself.
Licking ears?
No, Haldeman and Ehrlichman.
Licking ears?
They were like Nixon's right hand man, men, and they were all over
Safi,
the place. They're in everybody's business.
Safi, let's say that you.
They were.
Let's say that you
Haldeman.
have. Safi, let's say that you have ultimate power. Which president would you like to be?
Marco, I don't know. I wouldn't want the position. That's a horrible position.
Which president would you like to be the right-hand man for in all of history? You cannot say, the racist one from the Civil War. You cannot say him, Safi.
Why would I say that?
Just so you know, Andrew Johnson is off the table.
Oh, God.
You cannot... you cannot say him.
I don't know. I don't think, I just wouldn't care for it at all. There's just too much negativity.
Well, I would want to be...
Especially right now.
I would want to be Andrew Jackson's right-hand man.
Oh, God. Why? So you could kill Native Americans?
Him and Eisenhower.
Well, Eisenhower got 2 terms.
Him, Eisenhower, not JFK because he's a fucking... I don't like his womanizing thing.
Yeah,
of course, all the other presidents would do that stuff too. Like they just talked about him doing it. Like, a lot of other presidents.
Done a lot more than some of them because they showed There sure is a lot of evidence.
LBJ did a lot more than him.
I don't know anything about him except for they're from Texas and the civil rights.
LBJ was the worst of them all.
Okay, let's not get into. I don't want to get into politics.
I want to be Andrew Jackson's plumber.
Okay, I really wouldn't. Andrew
Why?
Jackson's no hero to anybody.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, just get off of it. Let's not do this.
They used to have his portrait in the White House because he was such a hero to America.
No, he's such a hero to Trump.
No, he's a hero to everyone.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He was the best.
Marco, don't say that because...
Andrew Jackson.
Please don't do that. Okay, let's move on to something else.
George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Eisenhower, and FDR. All the other ones are complete pieces of trash.
God.
JFK didn't really get to do anything because the CIA killed him. But, that's kind of different. So, JFK is kind of like a celebrity president. He didn't really get to do very much because, they killed him. So, he didn't get to do the stuff he wanted to do. But if he did, he would probably be the best one. Which Oliver Stone has talked about that himself. He said, what if JFK got to do all the stuff he wanted to do? Like, sleep with Marilyn Monroe a million more times. Well, you didn't choose anyone, Safi. You could have said you'd like to be fucking white bread John Ford's or Gerald Ford's plumber.
God, he's the one who pardoned Nixon.
Yeah, you could have said
if Nixon hadn't got in trouble in a federal with the government, if he got in trouble in a state government, he wouldn't have been able to pardon him. They talk about this all the time with that piece of crap that we had before. Recently, before this president, if he had done anything in a state like Georgia or New York or any state, any of them, he would have gone to prison. There wouldn't have been any pardoning.
Well, Safi.
But Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon. He did that because he thought the nation needed. The nation was very damaged after the Watergate crap.
He thought that
he was trying to start the nation on a healing pathway, which is a good thing.
He thought that Richard needed some healing. He didn't care about America.
That's
clear.
True. Oh,
but Safi, you didn't choose anyone. You could have said, "I'd like to be fucking Harry Truman. Harry Truman's plumber." You could have said Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry.
That's why they call him Dirty Harry.
Okay, Marco.
You could have said you'd like to be George W. Bush's
Oh, my
plumber.
God. Marco's 24 years old, and he really does not know about all these people.
Yes, I
do.
I
don't want to hear it.
Yes, I do.
He does know a lot more than some people, but there's things he doesn't know.
Safi,
anyway,
you didn't choose. I said, whose plumber would you like to be? Whose plumber?
I wouldn't want any of
You
it.
have to choose one.
I wouldn't want to do any of it.
All of history. You could have said Taft. You could have said Cool.
No, why would I say those? Would you stop it? God bless it.
You could have said
I'm gonna
Thomas Jefferson. John Adams.
I'm not going to continue to sit here.
Martin Van Buren.
I'm going to sign off. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And
Safi, how would you
gave it an A of some kind. Marco gave it an A-. I gave it an A.
How would you rank?
I thought it was funny.
How would you rank presidents?
No, I'm not doing that. Anyway,
I think I will.
And
Number
be
one.
one of our subscribers if you can bear to listen to this BS.
Number one. Ike. Number two. Jackson. Okay. Number three.
Bye, everybody.
Number three. FDR. Number four. Let's see.
Bye.
Kennedy, I guess. He's just a fruity celebrity president, though.
Oh, somebody's waiting for their dinner. What time is it?